Cannabis Life Radio is paid programming. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of JVC Broadcasting, its management, or staff. This is the most unique radio show in America. This is Florida's only cannabis radio program. This is Cannabis Life Radio.
The music commanding, make everybody dancing.
This is it. Cannabis Life Radio is on the air.
Alright then, up on the banking, rude boys and rude girls skanking. Sing it if you're feeling happy. Let me hear it from the rude boy passage. All my beautiful ladies. Let me hear you if you're feeling irie. Well, everyone, it is a joy to hear you sing along. This is not a hardcore, this is a pretty song. The Japanese, them say that one ya Ichiban. Europe say give me the one bang bang biddly bang. Long, long before Smiley and Michigan, reggae was born and today it's still living on. Reggae fans over a billion. If you feel the vibes and the energy, bring it on. In a cup me have something sipping on, feeling so high, the clouds I'm sitting on. From the left to the right I'm picking on, participate everyone. Sing it if you're feeling happy. Let me hear it from the rude boy passage. All my beautiful ladies. Let me hear you if you feel it irie. Even the lame have to get up and groove. Now when you hear a rhythm like this you have to move. Everyone have on them dancing shoes and I jump up like say them hear good news. Traveling on the highway, me a cruise, and I listen some sweet reggae music me choose. No distraction can get me confused. Give thanks, me no have nothing to lose. Massive over here so and the massive over there so. And in the ear can the DJ say so. If you come from the suburbs or the ghetto, let me hear everybody voice echo. Sing it if you're feeling happy. Let me hear it from the rude boy passage. All my beautiful ladies. Let me hear you if you're feeling irie. If good music up on your mind, show me a signal, show me a sign. If you're feeling real fine, let me hear you sing one more time. Sing it if you're feeling happy. Let me hear it from the rude boy passage. All my beautiful ladies. Let me hear you if you're feeling irie.
If you need cannabis as medicine, you need Cannabis Life Radio.
Wait, you're moving your hair around?
No, I was. That's the way I get ready real quick.
That's how you get warmed up?
Good luck.
Yes, I rub my head like a Buddha. Rub my big bald head like a Buddha. Welcome to Cannabis Life Radio.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Leon Hamilton. I am joined by my co-host, Arby Barroso,
Good morning.
Cheryl Murray Powell, and everyone else, the cast of characters.
We actually have Alexia.
Alexia,
today
welcome
joining
to
us.
our show, Alexia.
Yes,
Welcome.
all the way from Cali.
Nice.
That's right.
I heard that there was some news going on in Tallahassee about cannabis.
There's all kinds of
Yeah?
stuff going
Anything
on.
going on?
Kentucky, South Carolina, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Everybody's there's a whole bunch of news coming
Cannabis
on
is
right
taking
now.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All of a sudden, everybody wants to be on the bandwagon. They want to be with the cool kids like us.
Yeah, the cool kids for sure.
Georgia might be some of the coolest kids right now, believe it or not.
Yeah. Well, North Carolina is definitely one of the cool
West
kids.
Virginia?
Well, West Virginia, they need to be one of the cool kids after their
Wait a second here.
Listen,
from
they have
West
a
Virginia.
long history, and this whole week, everybody was talking about the opiate addictions from the White House to majority states, talking about the biggest issue that we have in this country right now, and the biggest epidemic is the opiate addiction,
Right.
and all the fentanyl issues and everything else that the big pharma is launching out. So it's about time that they get a hold of this and get on board with it, because this will stop it. And that was one of the things that Sessions said that we talked about last week, that he doesn't understand that it's ridiculous. if he would educate himself, he'd realize that this is something that could help the United States with the biggest problem that this country's facing right now, which is opiate addiction and heroin use.
Right. Well, what's the deal with him? Is he saying it because he wants to? Is he testing the waters to try to?
I think that water testing's over, man.
No,
I mean, you're talking about the biggest people, even people that are in with Trump right now. From Roger Stone was even on last night with Bill Maher.
Right.
He's like, the biggest problem here is that you got Sessions talking about trying to go after people and criminalize this when people are trying to go the opposite way. The war on drugs is over on that side of it, and they need to realize that. And when you have Roger Stone, which is like a trumpet, come out with a cake with a cannabis plant on it,
right.
You realize that they're starting to pay attention big time.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think they were smoking weed on the show the other night too, weren't they?
I think the cake was full of it.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
It's all great,
So what's going on with you, Cheryl?
Oh, this has been a really good week. I've been doing a lot of traveling, and I'm back, but I've just been paying attention to some legislation. Georgia got a lot of press, a lot of hype about expanding the disorders and illnesses that will be included in their legislation, in their bill. So that's, we want to give props to Georgia for recognizing things like, autism and Alzheimer's and other illnesses. So it's very important.
It's coming around. I think people are starting to realize in various ways that this is needed for whether it's vets, whether it's PTSD, whether it's MS, as we sponsor in a gala now on April 22nd. I think there's going to be over 300 people there as either working with Joe DiMaggio's Children's Hospital. People are starting to pay attention to this in a big way. And we were in Tally on Wednesday and Thursday, and they took our appointments and they heard us out, and they realized whether Democrat, Republican, liberal, it doesn't matter. Everybody's starting to realize that they either got to come together on this or they're going to have a huge problem in 2018 in the voting year.
Well, where do we stand right now with the two bills?
The Rodriguez bill came out. I got a text yesterday. I kind of shut it down yesterday, but there's a lot of people ripping it apart. Again, they're trying to take certain debilitating diseases or people that have certain issues off the bill.
So they're trying
to limit their patient count, if I'm not mistaken.
It was in committee this past week, and it passed committee with only one negative vote, but there was the assurance from Rodriguez that they'll be making additional amendments. So they said that they're going to change it. They understand that it's very restrictive. They understand that it's not necessarily patient-friendly. There were, again, patient after patient speaking up and saying, this isn't right, this isn't what we voted for. So in anticipation of possibly having litigation, there's assurances that there will be future amendments.
Right. Is there a deadline on the amendment?
I think it runs all the way. I mean, you have session now only till May. So after that, they don't. It is a voting year in 2018, so they'll probably be back, up in Tallahassee sometime September, October to start getting ready for all their campaigns and stuff that they're going to need to do. So they next session won't start until December. They'll start getting everything ready until next year. So it's going to take some time. Right now, I think they're just really locking everything down and having people fight for it instead of just handing it out and being like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to create a patient base. We're going to open up another 3 nurseries, including the Black Farmers and stuff like that we've been fighting for also. So those are all the different things that might happen. Right now, they're just going like, let's see how much trouble they give us if we're real hard on this.
I'm still optimistic about the Brannon bill and a little.
That's good optimism right there, Chef.
But Brannon, I think it's solid. Again, it expands. It stays vertical, which we can accept, but it gives more opportunity in a realistic time frame. As soon as it passes 10 additional dispensaries or MMTC, and then every 25,000 patients, so it's related to the patient count, every 25,000 patients, you get 4 more. That's reasonable.
That would be great.
We can live with that. It allows for people who were victims of the war on drugs to own up to 5% equity in a dispensary, and I think that's fair and reasonable. So they won't have to do the level 2 background checks. So and it allows for edibles. So that's the one that I kind of think. Of course,
that hurts everybody. The edible hurts everybody because that hurts me.
Right.
Like I'm not a smoker. I don't smoke, but I do use edibles when I go to a legal state or recreational state. I do use it. So this bill here would not fit me. Right. And I'm somebody who comes from a person who used to have problems with the big pharma issue.
Right.
I understand what it is to wake up in the morning and leave your house without your medication and having to drive back. So I understand those problems deeply, and I won't shy away from them because I'm here today because of the product that we create and we develop. Not including I've seen other people get off, what I had the problems with, which is the opiate addiction. And we understand that as we do. So I'm not going to go ahead and smoke flower.
Right.
I'll eat something that's 3 to 4% THC because that's what I like. I know that what it does to me. I can continue working. I can move forward. It takes my pain away. I got 3 hip surgeries, C4, C5 in my back. I know what it's going to do for me as long as I could use it in that fashion.
Right, but you should have the freedom to do whatever you want.
I agree, but this is Florida.
That's the problem.
So, I mean, this is, what do you want me to tell you?
Yeah,
I mean, look, we got West Virginia.
Yeah, but
you got West Virginia looking to pass a bill 386,
right,
which basically allows 15 growers, 60 dispensaries right off rip.
Right off
By the time they're probably rolling, we'll still be, talking about this on the radio.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll continue on the radio and move forward in different angles, and because there's so many things that we could talk about. But right now, the biggest pressure we need to put on is the bills that's passing, and what we need to do to make sure that they listen to us and they continue to listen and move forward. And I think this week was good when we went Wednesday and Thursday because I think they are paying attention. And everybody told me the same thing. If you would have been here 10 months, 12 months ago last year, they wouldn't have taken your appointment.
Right.
So I think they took it and they realized that we need to start paying attention to what's really going on because they want to stay in their cushy seats.
Yeah, but what are the chances that they're going to go back and redo this?
Well, they don't. This is just the first bill that they submit. Just as Rodriguez said, this is what they submit, and now they're going to have
to work
people
it out
like Cheryl and
others
others who are going to fight this and make sure that they include other things again.
Right.
So what it is that they're not just going to submit this. This is the bill. Thank you very much.
No changes.
Not
got it.
So
fighting in hell.
Arby, what did it feel like to be such an active presence in the legislative process? So,
it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was pretty intense. We got there at 11:40. We ran all the way to 5 o'clock with 30-minute meetings. It was very, very good. It was very receptive. We went there for another reason, and I won't say that now. Hopefully, that'll be a surprise a little bit later on. But everybody asked me what I thought about the vertical and horizontal bill. Right. And what should take place because they knew my history after I explained to them and sat down with them. So they're very receptive and understanding in a way, but most of them didn't know. They're not educated, and that's my biggest problem is the educational part. Is as Pigman we know dropped out. He dropped out, so that's a sighting right now. Right. Pigman did drop out of that committee. After his DUI, arrest.
After I drove him crazy.
After you drove him crazy,
yes.
Leon.
My fault.
So
sorry.
He
literally drove him to drink.
He drove him to drink. I don't think it was Leon's fault, but Leon probably drove him to drink for sure.
Literally. Pretty bad.
So, like Leon, in the past, you've spoken about how if our capital was in South Florida, things would be different. So I just think it's great that Arby took the time to travel to Tallahassee just as a citizen and business owner to really say, I'm going to be a part of this process. So sometimes some people can't actually make that journey. I encourage you to do so because it is eye-opening. But what you can do is call your legislators. You can email them and let them know what's important to you and be a part of the process so you're not just like sitting on your couch complaining later.
That's what's going to change a lot is people actually calling, emailing, call and email all your legislators,
preferably
call all your representatives because if they sit back, they did this to the bill.
Somebody else will do it.
If we don't talk about it, then it's not going to get done.
Right.
And if people don't complain about it, they're not going to change it.
Yeah.
So complaining is not going to get anywhere. It's calling, emailing, and making sure you let your voice heard.
Right. And that's part of the reason for the show. We're trying to, aggregate all of this information so people can get together. And we're going to talk about one of the things, the Rally and Tally. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Also, we have the world's most...
Why are you pointing at me again?
Because
I have a problem every time you point at me.
The most
and he's whipping me at the same time. Look, you see that? He's like, hey, let me tell you right now.
Lasso finger.
Yes. Oh, there you go. That's more I like it right there. That's more your color.
Coming up, we have the most popular radio segment in the history of man. It's called
The Galaxy.
In the Galaxy, yes. In the Know with Bill Monroe is coming up. You're currently tuned to Cannabis Life Radio, brought to you by Green Roads World.
Yeah.
The kings of kings, the lords of lords, the conquering lion. Lord, Lord, Lord. Lord, Lord, Lord. Rastafari lives in the heart of every man. Let righteousness preserve my soul. Rastafari lives in the heart of every man. Let righteousness preserve my soul. Do good things and good things will follow. Just be humble and love one another. The race is not for the swift, only who can endure it. It's written all over mankind, and I can see it. Your love is real, and I can feel it. Open arms and let love bring us closer. So much blessings I feel with joy and laughter. Lord, 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 Lord. Why your Rastafari lives in the heart of every man. Let righteousness preserve my soul. Rastafari lives in the heart of every man. Let righteousness preserve my soul. Temptation will come with a lot of frustration. Don't let it get you down. Just be strong. Jah is the only one. So let us give praises to the man. He is the imperial Emperor Haile Selassie. Tell me what more can I say? He's the only man who step on battlefield and conquer the bomb. Lord, Lord, Lord. Lord, Lord, Lord. Why-yo? Why-yo, why-yo? Rastafari lives in the heart of every man. Let righteousness preserve my soul. Rastafari lives in the heart of every man. Let righteousness preserve my soul. Rastafari lives in the heart of every man. Let righteousness preserve my soul. Rastafari lives in the heart of every man. Let righteousness preserve my soul.
Cannabis sativa, the old standby cordage fiber, is staging a strong comeback.
Cannabis Life Radio proudly presents In the Know with Bill Monroe.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one,
The only,
Mr. Bill Monroe. Bill, are you there?
Good morning. How's
morning,
everyone
sir.
doing?
What's
not
going
too
on?
bad, not too bad. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing fine. I'm waking up with a cup of coffee right now.
Nice. No animals?
Oh, man.
No birds?
No birds, and no nefarious elements so far.
Always good to
Shots
hear.
fired.
Good to hear.
Yes.
So what's going on, Bill?
Well, we're just watching the bills in the amendments right now. Bradley put forward, I believe, about 9 amendments to the Senate bill. The House bill, they're standing firm. They're not willing to compromise on anything. At least that's what they're saying right now. This may be just political posturing, and then at the last minute they make some changes, such as removing the 90-day requirement to see a physician, or their adverse stance to vaping and edibles. So we'll have to see where things are going. A lot of folks I talk to believe that they're going. This whole session is more of just a political favor session, where they're going to Mel Sembler and they're going to give him, or try to give him, his $500,000 for doing reefer madness education around Florida, and there might be a few more favors.
Yeah, well, could you explain that a little bit more? Explain that, because I saw a little bit about that on social media. Could you explain that to me a little bit?
Sure. So Representative Jamie Grant, who's a young and upcoming Republican conservative, Mel and Betty Sembler, who are the main ones who are opposing Amendment 2 implementation here in Florida, tapped Jamie Grant and asked him to put in a special project request, he and a committee of folks. So that special project request would give $500,000 tax dollars to Drug-Free Florida to go off and do cannabis education in Florida. So you can imagine that cannabis education is not going to be pro-cannabis when it comes from Mel Sembler.
Right.
It makes no sense.
So our taxpayer money is being
on.
used to educate people against cannabis that they voted for by an overwhelming majority.
Of course,
that makes sense.
Right. I mean, I got to hand it to them. It was well played. They worked this under the wire, under everything else. They got Jamie Grant and a group of others to come up and support this. Whether this will make it through final implementation or not, we're not sure. But
kidding me.
I mean, well played on their end. We have to do the same on our end. Going forward, what we need to do is look for champions in the House and the Senate, create a special project of our own, and do education on cannabinoid research.
Nice.
So,
and that's big, because that's one of the things I didn't understand when I was there this week, Bill, was the educational part is so key, because we have a lot of doctors that are reaching out to us that don't understand either how to give a prescription or what they should be recommending to certain patients. Obviously, you have other doctors like Michelle Weiner. We have Dr. Rosado today coming in that on the phone that understand the process. But I would say 98% to 99% of the doctors that are prescribing right now don't really know what they're doing. So that, funding Florida. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we need to propagate that information and that education. So one of the things I've been doing is talking to some of the license holders and see if they're willing to either put into a fund or fund in their specific zones education where we can go off and train the physicians and the patients. So I've just started that preliminary series of conversations with a few of these license holders.
I think that should be, I agree. I think that's great that you stepped in and to close that gap, but I'm thinking that the Department of Health should have to ante up some of their money from application fees into your fund as well.
I totally agree with you. But trying to deal with trying to even get Office of Compassionate Use on the phone or answer the phone and try to get them to cooperate. Good luck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, everybody's trying to get a stranglehold on this, including giving $500,000 to somebody that's completely been against, this type of product for anybody, no matter if you're sick or you're not sick. So it makes no sense. But again, it's a game that needs to be played, as Bill was saying, and they played it right. Yep. We need to continue to push for the people that are pushing for our visions and our legislation and what we're looking to do. And it's not going to be a complete open market right now. It's going to be a vertical market. Right. But at least if they allow other people to get in it, the vertical market's very expensive. Not everybody could do it. Right. It's a very expensive process. We did it in Colorado. We had to have the dispensary, the grow, the MIPS, the OPC, everything attached together for us to do this. And it's not a very inexpensive. It's very expensive to do this. So.
It is. And some of the money I've seen being thrown around at some of these license holders is incredible. I mean, I've heard of groups from China, from Dubai, from Canada, from other groups coming down and saying, we'll give you $18 million. Matter of fact, one offer was just offered for a third of a license for $18 million, and the license holder said no, and they walked away. So that gives you an idea of the type of money that's going on here in Florida. And one thing that the House and Senate said is they go, big marijuana. We don't want big marijuana here in Florida. Well, they're creating big marijuana when they only have a select number of licenses. And then you have no residency requirements whatsoever here in Florida. So you have groups from around the world that are coming in going, we'll give you $20 million for a third. We'll give you $30 million for a third. And then the problem there is when you have that type of valuation for a license, nobody wants any additional licenses being issued in Florida, and they fight that tooth and nail because they don't want to devalue the price of that license. They got to protect it. And then what happens is you end up with they're not doing education, they're not doing training, and they go, where are the patients? And they don't do any patient acquisitions. They don't pay for education groups. They don't fund the education groups. They just figure they're going to build the dispensaries, put them out, and they will come. And that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
No.
Not in Florida.
Colorado,
it's not. I mean, you could go to any corner right now or call your friend that you've been
Right.
dealing with for 20 years and go do whatever you want to do instead of having to pay a couple $1,000s to go get your red card. It makes no sense.
If they're serious about starving the cartels, then they need to do this education piece and be serious about it.
Right. And another issue is because they don't allow flour and it's just oil. I talked with one of the license holders, and that individual told me they have to take all their premium bud, and that goes into oil. Where mostly, like in California and other places, they take the trim, they take the sugar leaves, the fan leaves, the inferior stuff, and they blast that and they get the oil, and that's what they use. Now, what they're doing now is they're using premium bud for the oil, and that's what's driving the prices up of the oil at this point.
It's completely the opposite.
Backwards.
I mean, whoever got educated and whoever educated these guys on how to launch this, obviously other states don't want us to be successful. They realize that Florida, and that's probably why there's not a residency bill, because they want their hands in the pie over here,
right?
Is what I'm seeing, and what I've been talking to people that are from outside the state that are in this side of the business is what I'm hearing is that's one of the reasons why they don't have a residency, is because there's a lot of outside money coming in. There's just a lot of money coming in, but that is creating they don't know where that money's coming from. They don't know who they're associating with. The whole 30-year 400,000 plant count is out the window because now they're selling parts of their license. So it really made no sense across the board.
Right.
Well, right now the large nurseries are really not even involved. If you look at San Velasco, they're not really involved. They have another group that's doing it all. They're doing their regular plants and everything. So the whole argument about giving large dispensaries here in Florida, a leg up on the competition and allow them to enter, all they did was just sell off their license, collect the money, and they're doing what they did before.
And that was always the plan. That was always the plan. It was people who are friends of people who were writing the legislation.
We know who.
My friend of a friend of my friend's friend.
Yes.
That's it. And then they sell off the license.
Let's think of some rules that will only benefit my friends.
Right, exactly.
That's exactly the way the whole thing was set up.
And it's so obvious, and it's time for a change, and I think people will speak up afterwards. If we get something that is restrictive and does not meet the needs of the patients, we're going to have to do something different. We already have another constitutional amendment that we're getting petitions on.
I saw that,
recreational.
I saw that.
Yeah, so through Regulate Florida, Regulate Like Alcohol. Federally, we just saw some legislation around Regulate Like Alcohol. So that's one. It seems like we have to be so specific in the amendment language that they can't mess it up. Like the Amendment 2 language really allows for edibles and things like that, but they're trying to twist it to make it so
they're trying to keep it 2014 style is what's really going on.
Yeah, and there's no need for it, because then we have to do another amendment so that we say and edibles are allowed in the amendment.
Well, we'll take care of it. We'll do it one way or another. We got to make sure that this stuff happens, right, Bill?
Right, and you know what they're trying to do now. This cycle coming up in 2018 is the House and the Senate want to put forth a constitutional amendment to raise the number of voters that have to sign to pass the constitutional amendment.
Yeah, I know, because they're very upset that we have a say in the state. They don't want people to be able to exercise their rights and go around the politicians who have been paid to stop this stuff. It's ridiculous.
And that's it, is that the politicians really they're not representing the people anymore, their constituents. They're representing whoever pays them the most amount of money. I mean, I was looking at the other day, just watching the money flow between PACs, where Representative Rodriguez had received almost several hundreds of thousands of dollars here in the last month. And then what he did is he shifted that money over to Representative Matt Caldwell, who's running for the Department of Agriculture. This is what I do on my spare time.
Yeah.
I just track the money going from PAC to PAC to PAC to PAC, and it's pretty interesting how they do all that and everything, and they support their buddies. They get them up to speed. It all has to do with money and control is what it comes down to.
Well, every week when I listen to you, Bill, not only am I excited to hear it, but afterwards I'm very angry. You make me very angry, and it's not you. It's the stuff that you discover, and I appreciate you, man.
It's the same thing. When I started this venture, I was very naive, and I believed that the House and the Senate followed the regular rules that you're taught in school on how to put forth a bill. And the more I got into the PACs, the more I started learning the process. I was like, wow, this is This is really ugly.
And it's not just Florida; it's across the country. It's
Exactly.
they're just mirroring the same. Like, be as restrictive as possible for as long as possible, so that we can help the big boys get in, get a head start. And that's basically what they're doing. I've heard about. I'm reading legislation from various states for clients and just for my own reading, and it's you see the same similarities as far as they're like, oh, this worked in this state. Yeah. Let's go ahead and do it in this other state.
Right.
On the other side, those of us who are advocates, we need to do the same thing. We need to read what's happening in other states. As Arby said, Pennsylvania. I've heard Ohio has some good legislation. Maryland, and start feeding that language into the legislative process.
Exactly. Educate them. Whether we can hope it will make a difference in the future. At least some of the names in the chairs will change over time. Hopefully, with the 2018 election. But we need to remind the public who is with us and who is against us when they enter in that voter booth.
And I think that's why we're
here, my
that's
brother.
their fear, and I think that's why a lot of people are they're starting to realize. A lot of the hardcore conservatives starting to realize, if I keep on going in this direction, no amount of money is going to stop. As we saw what happened in the presidential election,
this is a train.
No amount of money is going to stop certain votes and certain people reacting in certain ways.
Exactly.
So they better start paying attention heavy.
Yeah. Yes, put it this way: people are a lot more educated now than they were back in 2013, 2012, before we even started this process and started networking and started informing the public via radio. So, we have momentum on our side. And one thing that Mel Sembler fears his education.
Yeah.
Because he can't stifle free speech.
No.
He can't tell us shut up and then we just shut up, or he pays people.
Yes, sir.
So the more we talk about it, the more we educate, and the more we preach, the more people we meet, the tide's going to be on our side. It is on our side, and it's going to growing wave.
I think what they didn't anticipate was the seniors movement. Yep. The fact that these people, they don't want to die.
Right.
And if there's something that can help them live longer and heal their illnesses, they're gonna open up to it. And that's what we're seeing. I know we're seeing it in the CBD environment. And we're seeing it with medical marijuana. They're curious, or they're hearing from their friends, hey, my tumor was shrunk, or I have Parkinson's, but I can have a decent life. And they're like, oh my gosh. And then they're recommending to others. So that's the piece. Those solid voters who are seniors aren't as conservative anymore on this particular topic.
They're done. All right, Bill, thank you very much. We've got tons of stuff to get to. I'm sorry we have to cut you a little short today, but we really appreciate you.
Bill,
I want you to know
thanks,
that.
Bill.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bill, for coming on the show and joining us.
Everybody have a good day.
Appreciate it. Have
Thank
a
you
good
very
one.
much. You are currently tuned to Cannabis Life Radio, brought to you by Green Roads World.
Across the state and across the country, the Hemp Kings is your online home for hemp oil products. From organic hemp oils to intense concentrates, there is only one name you need to remember: the Hemp Kings. The Hemp Kings. Our hemp cream pain blaster lotions use natural essential oils to deliver hemp's natural pain reliever directly to the site of inflammation for long-lasting relief. Now, our Pain Blaster hemp cream has gone to the extreme. New Pain Blaster Extreme delivers even more relief, even faster. The best hemp products at the best prices, delivered anywhere in the continental U.S. TheHempKings.com. TheHempKings.com.
Florida Home Grow is the state's #1 seller of hemp oil products. Stop by and check out their organic hemp oils, capsules, and pain-killing topical lotions. Enjoy a complimentary cup of fresh organic coffee when checking out our beautiful showroom. Florida Home Grow also carries unique hemp items like jewelry, soaps, clothing, and accessories. Don't forget to try refreshing natural lemonade or a delicious organic ice cream sandwich. Florida Home Grow is conveniently located on Lake Worth Road between Jog and the Turnpike. We're Florida's #1 seller of hemp oil products because our stuff works.
Marley's Tobacco Shop, your one stop for pipes, papers, and other smoking accessories, including a huge selection of all your favorite raw papers and cones. Marley's offers a wide array of hand-blown glass pipes and water pipes, many from local artists. Check out their selection of vaporizers and e-cigarettes and e-liquids, along with plenty of incense to light up your place. Visit Marley's locations 2 in Boca or head to Palm Beach and Jupiter. Marley's Tobacco, a family-owned tobacco shop with a minor in vaping. Marley's Tobacco, they're smoking.
Joe Rockwell alongside Smollett, natural
You leave me discombobulated, my body is heavily sedated. As long as you don't test my patience, keep it smooth yet so X-rated. Or just keep on turning me on from the sunset right back around till dawn. And I can't hide the way that I feel, and you my secret is revealed. Cause you are this a lover, I mean I wanna other. Everything you do, it does some mash me up, yeah. Miss a lover when we they on the cover, everything you do, it does some mash me up, yeah. Miss a lover, say are you are the number one? Yeah, 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 yeah. Sing na 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 na.
She said it feels so right, she wanna kiss and tell. And anytime she see me, she hear wedding bells. She said I love you scary like the Spice Girl man, because she's always at war with my apparel. The pulling and pushing and a tearing and a swearing and a lipstick smearing, and she just not hearing. Every day she feeding, so she just not caring. I can tell by the stare she losing her bearings. Love in abundance with much more substance than she ever had come across. You know, love in abundance with much more substance than she ever had come across.
Miss a lover, I mean I wanna other. Everything you do, it does mash me up, yeah. Miss a lover when we they on the cover. Everything you do, it does mash me up, yeah. Miss a lover, say are you are the number one? Ooh yeah, ooh yeah, ooh yeah, 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 ooh yeah, yeah. Sing na 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 na.
Royal rocking with the rock world. I just decided that I make some Jezebel head swell. Perfect loving in a nutshell.
Miss a lover, I mean I wanna other. Everything you do, it does mash me up, yeah. Miss a lover when we they on the cover. Everything you do, it does mash me up, yeah. Miss a lover, say are you are the number one? Ooh yeah, ooh yeah, ooh yeah, 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 ooh yeah, yeah. Sing na na na. Say no, she can't be mistaken. So heavenly, feel like vacation. On a natural high is where you are. Take me around the world, back down to Jamaica. And let me say.
This is the most unique radio show in America. This is Cannabis Life Radio.
Hey, everybody.
We're back.
Welcome back.
Action. That's what I feel like.
I was just sharing my gummy froggy story. I love those gummy froggies.
Those work.
Do you like the froggies? Do you eat the froggies?
I do. I eat the froggies. I eat, have the 1500 at night before I go to bed, and I wake up to my terpenes with blueberry
Focus.
OG, or that's my focus.
Yeah.
That's my wake up girl. You got to get it done. So
I love it.
I was in Colorado this week too. I can't believe I didn't.
Yeah,
mention
I was gonna ask you about that. How did that go? I
Colorado
know
was
you were
great.
a little bit tired when I
I
spoke
was
to you.
beat up.
You
Like-
sounded a little bit worn down, which is that Colorado could do that to you.
Arby spoke to me at the airport, and I sounded like hello.
She's like, I'm like, Sherry, you all right? She's like, no,
Like
I'm fine. I'm fine. I drank down the bar last night, and
What do you suppose it was?
Tequila.
Oh, I don't know.
Shout out to Casa de Noble Tequila. But it was great. Just being in that real dispensary environment where, it seems like, you just see all types of people in, you show your ID, everybody's coming in to get their medicine, and a lot of the dispensaries are medical as well as recreational. And so just peace and love. Nobody's just looking like, I'm a stoner or whatever. They're just regular
They're not laying
people
on the
before
street.
they go to work
No.
or after they come home from
People
work.
wrecking their cars into trees.
Listen,
you know?
the governor of Colorado just came out that people were just trying to use that as teenagers were no, it's declined. Opiates
going
declined.
down. Yeah.
Accidents declined.
Right.
And I've reached out to a couple people that reached out to us on Facebook and were like, and I'm like, send me proof.
Right.
Because I'll send you all kinds of paperwork back. And I send it back and then they disappear.
Right.
So
Vanish.
if you're going to come at us in Facebook or any other social media, make sure you just don't post something. Come back at us with some actual logic and paperwork attached.
Exactly.
Because it's just ridiculous when people say things like that. And I know that was your first experience. How did that feel?
It was amazing. amazing because I was amazed by the variety of product. There's tons of stuff, even in the edible space, in the oil space, and transdermal patches, and it's just like it really can help a whole lot of people. There was even technological advances. Like there was this vape pen where it's actually I'll just PAX vape pen, and it was really fantastic because you can put an app on your phone which turns it off. So, like for safety around children and things like that, you can actually control it by your cell phone, whether it's off. And then there are different speeds that you can, or the different ways it can burn. So it was like stealth, it was like boost, and there were like 4 different ways it'll burn. And efficiency was one of them.
Imagine
so it'll
that.
last
Free
longer.
market. She's so excited now.
I love technology.
I see.
It was fantastic. I was like, I couldn't believe that was available. And it's like, it's very sophisticated of an industry. It's not just people buying rolling papers anymore.
Right.
There is that.
Bongs.
But the pre-rolls are there. You're smelling the product. There was even in one location, there was a microscope so you can actually look at the bud under the microscope. Nice. So it's super high tech. Super safe. So the locking, as I mentioned with this vape pen, the fact that you can control it with your cell phone and turn it off, and you can't use it if it's turned off. So I was really impressed by that market. I'm excited for Florida to eventually get to that space.
Yeah, we got
Feels good.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
Hey, we got somebody on the phone. We got a guest on the phone.
Oh, excellent. Hey,
the special guest, Rosemary Wallace. Rosemary, you are on the phone live with Cannabis Life Radio. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning. How's everybody?
Good morning, Rosemary. This is a new segment we're doing. It's Cannabis Life Check-In, and we're checking in across the country with our fellow advocates. So this week we're going to feature Minorities for Medical Marijuana president in South Carolina, Rosemary Wallace. She's been doing a lot of great work out there. So, Rosemary, what's been going on in the past couple weeks in South Carolina?
Wow, it's been going bananas out here pretty much. We got 2 bills. One is in the Senate and one is in the House right now. The bills numbers, for those people that like to follow along, is we have a bill, H3128, which is currently stuck in judiciary. And I believe they're trying to let this bill die. To be honest with you, this bill is wanting to let the patient be able to grow 6 plants. And it's kind of funny that we just had hearings this past week on a different bill, which is S212, the Compassionate Care Act, which doesn't allow grow, but it's kind of like the bills that y'all have there with Amendment 2, which is a vertical plan with only having so many people being able to control everything.
Right.
When you say it doesn't allow grow, you're talking about home grow, where you can grow plants in your home, or kind of speak more on what it doesn't allow grow?
Yes, you wouldn't be able to grow plants at all unless you're licensed.
Okay.
With the current bill, 3128, it would give possibly the veterans the opportunity to grow 6 plants.
Nice.
Okay,
which
that's good.
would take DHEC out, which they don't really want no part in, even though testimony was given this past week by the Lamar Sheriff out of Colorado, stating before it got to be a commercialized situation, when their places were able to grow 6 plants themselves,
right?
Maximum of 99, they had less problems than what they're currently having right now. So with that right there is another way for House Bill 3128.
So that was law enforcement, and they were saying that violence went down?
Well, they have a grow.
When they had their own, when you was able to have your own personal growth, you was allowed to be able to grow. Say for instance, if I was there in Colorado right now, I have a medical cannabis card, so I would be able to grow in my home 6 plants.
And what was the sheriff saying?
Husband, say for instance, and he was saying that it was a lot easier to control, and they had less number of people doing the black market and everything to when you went to the commercial because of the price going up. Because if you can grow it yourself, 9 times out of 10 you're going to do that compared to going to the black market side, seeing the old print.
Yeah, and there's people right now that are still growing in Colorado that have a licensing and they could grow their 99 plant count. But it's true. I mean, I'm looking at the bill right now, Rosemary, and thank you for coming on. And I'm paying attention. Obviously, they should allow that 1 ounce and for the vets to grow, which would be 3 full flowered and then 3 vegging at this point, which is more than enough to have till you have your own medication. But again, they're just kind of stopping this. It's like, wait a minute, let's rethink this out. And they should allow it because a lot of people would grow their own medicine. If I could grow my own medicine, I would do that. I would do that all day. And that's still very expensive to do. Right. It's not easy to do that.
Yes,
you got to know what you're doing because if not, you're not going to do it right. But at that point in time, the responsibility falls on you.
Right.
You're not worried about the state coming in. Listen, if I want to grow this, I'll grow it myself. Just leave me alone and don't punish me for it. I should be able to treat myself on that. So.
And you're not using pesticides. You're doing it organically. So if you are an ill person and you can't be around that stuff, then it kind of gives you more options. That's great, Rosemary. Do you have any other updates about what's going on? What do you project for the future in South Carolina?
I'm projecting that we'll get a bill. It's just a part of which bill that we'll get, and that's why I'm so thankful and grateful for y'all bringing me on the air, able to talk about both bills. If I had my way about it, I would hopefully 3128 would pass because even I've talked with several veterans and other people about this bill, and they said they would make the provisions to go ahead and ask what the state is asking for them to have this in the area where it could be locked and secure on their own premises.
So in your South Carolina chapter of Minorities for Medical Marijuana, do you have members? What's your membership like? Are you have members who want to get into the business, or is it mostly patients? What are your members like, and what are they looking for?
Okay, right now currently we're still looking for membership. We've had people that's talked to us, but they don't want to make the commitment because of the stigma, and that's one of the biggest fights here in South Carolina is the stigma that has been placed on marijuana. Don't matter if it's medical or not, there's still a stigma that stands with it here in South Carolina.
So it sounds like there's a great educational opportunity. People are like, I don't want to be associated with this because I might lose my job, or people look at me differently in my church and things like that.
But that's where the CBD. That's where a lot of the CBD is breaking the stigma. Like when we educate and our guys from Green Roads call these stores, because we're in South Carolina, we're in Kentucky, we're in West Virginia, and a lot of these states that still have a lot of that stigma. We're coming across and we're educating. Our guys make relationships on the phone. Our guys are not just say, hey, take this product. And that's how we've grown as organically, is to educate, because educate is the most important thing for people to end up medicating on. Because if you're not educating them, they're never going to sign up as a patient. They're never going to do anything else. They're not going to speak about it until it affects their family. Once it affects their family, that's when they're going to reach out and do research or say, well, this person told me about this, and that worked for them. Let me go try it.
Exactly.
So it shouldn't be that way. It should not be that way. It should be something that we should educate the public, take away the stigma, because we got bigger problems than cannabis in this country.
Yes.
Right.
And we need to get over that. We need to get definitely over this whole problem and start moving forward.
Well, maybe we can use this to get everybody together.
Right. I mean, it's the plant that does.
75%. Well, that's true too.
That plant
all of a
has
sudden,
no
everybody's
color,
loving
race,
everybody.
creed, or religion, my
this
friend.
is true.
Everybody across the nation and the world has used that plant.
Yes.
Right.
So it brings everybody together. You'll never see anybody get in a fight.
Nope.
Like you do when somebody pounds down a bottle of alcohol.
No.
Or something like that. You don't have a bad cannabis user.
No.
You don't hear that.
No
you have
bad
a bad
trips.
drunk,
Yes.
but you don't have a bad cannabis user.
Or angry cannabis users. There's no angry cannabis users. No.
Well, Rosemary, thank you for your updates. If anyone wants to join Minorities for Medical Marijuana, go to www.minorities4medicalmarijuana.org, and you can join people in South Carolina. Once you can look for Rosemary Wallace on Facebook, and she can give you guidance there. We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being on, and keep fighting. I watch your live videos. I know you're out there in the trenches.
Yeah, thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you, guys, for having me. You have a great day.
All right, you too. You are currently tuned to Cannabis Life Radio, brought to you by Green Roads World.
Babylon, you're too rude. Babylon, you're too rude, yeah. Make up my brethren noble one time. One day me and my thugs up on the yard, reminiscing dreams, smoking marijuana. Babylon pull up, no alarms, yeah. Now they want to come put me in a tight spot. Please, Mr. Officer, don't lock me up for no petty crime. All I see, you got the shooters of the bus in
see me making. Rather see me locked up in a box with a basin. Have to thank my mother for my life, cause she raised me. I'm a cool you, but smoke is amazing. Ooh, yeah, they want to lock me up for a one drug. Yeah, 1, 2 paper loud, not a split bar. Please, Mr. Officer, lock me up, and I say they want to lock me up for a one drug. Yeah, 1, 2 paper loud, not a split bar. Legalize the sesame, yeah. That's the type of thing my brethren need. Yeah, too many times I see my brethren out they bleed. Yeah, from a long time since I was 9, Babylon to a bad mind. Oh, yeah, it's like the Babylon now I see me making. Rather see me locked up in a box with a basin. I thank my mother for my life, cause she raised me. I'm a cool you, but smoke is amazing. Ooh, yeah, they want to lock me up for a one drug. Yeah, 1, 2 paper loud, not a split bar. Please, Mr. Officer, lock me up, and I say they want to lock me up for a one drug. Yeah, 1, 2 paper loud, not a split bar. One day me and my toxic body reminiscing dreams, smoking marijuana. Babylon pull up, no alarm, yeah. Now they want to come put me in a dry spot. Please, Mr. Officer, don't lock me up for no petty crime. All I see you got the shooters of the bossy nice. But I just wanna smoke my collie and protect what's mine. Ooh, yeah, they want to lock me up for a one drug. Yeah, 1, 2 paper loud, not a split bar. Please, Mr. Officer, lock me up, and I say they want to lock me up for a one drug. Yeah, 1, 2 paper loud, not a split bar. 1, 2 paper loud, not a split bar. I said, please, Mr. Officer, don't lock me up, don't lock me up. Please, Mr. Officer, don't lock me up.
Cannabis is medicine. Cannabis is life. This is Cannabis Life Radio.
This is the only cannabis radio program
Cannabis
on the
is
planet.
life.
In the galaxy.
In the galaxy, in the entire galaxy.
Well, there's a lot of other people coming up. You know, now I got like 4 texts over the last 10 days.
What?
Of new flyers of people starting a Cannabis Life Radio show.
Not on a real radio station.
No, I don't know. I don't.
They're
think
fake.
So. Well,
Why
no,
do you keep moving my drink?
Well, we have an
They got to keep you under
exciting,
control, man.
exciting
I mean,
show coming up in a
it's
little
all
bit.
edgy and fidgety.
I need some CBD products. Do you have any?
Yeah,
this is
we,
my
we,
bottle. Don't
we
touch
roll
my
with
bottle, man.
CBD products.
Touch my bottle.
One of those.
Sticky fingers, man.
So coming up in a little bit later is Dr. Joseph Rosado. I just had to say I'm a complete fan of Dr. Rosado. He has been so welcoming to me. I've been to his actual office. I've gotten to interview his actual patients. He is all about helping people. He literally has been. I've interviewed him, and he's gotten emotional when he talks about patients that he's lost because of the 90-day rule. And he has a lot that he'll be sharing with us a little bit later.
And
so.
that's one of the biggest problems that I have with the bill. I mean, everything else, I kind of figured it's going to go in this direction right now. I mean, even in November, I knew it was not going to be easy.
Yeah.
It was going to be a very hard fight. But my biggest problem is that 90-day rule. That's one of the biggest problems. Taxes is another big problem. Because
but there also isn't part of the new the one bill from the House, I believe, that says that there's actually increasing penalties for people that say that they're patients and get caught with cannabis. So
they
actually
have
making it
rules and
harsher.
regulations in there that if felony or if you get pulled, if something happens, you could actually lose your card.
And that's consistent with every state, though.
Yeah, but there's something else in there because they said that. Well, anyway, the article that I was reading was from High Times. It was a national. High Times, dope, something along those lines, and they were describing the way that the politicians were acting when they passed or were voting on what they were doing this past week, finalizing their final bills, and the guys were like high-fiving each other.
Listen, when you have
drug-free
they did a
Florida
good job getting $500,000 to educate the doctors. You know you got a problem.
Yeah, something
I
weird.
mean, there's a problem there because these people are not going to educate. They're not going to bring in the best possible people to have the seminars, to educate the doctors, to educate the public on this. So really it falls back on us and everybody else to continue to talk to others and get across our message.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's not going to happen. They're just going to keep on giving. Well, we'll give this guy 500. We'll give this guy a couple 100,000.
But who do these people think their constituents are? I haven't met anybody
Have
against
you been
this.
to Tallahassee?
Yes, I've been to Tallahassee.
Have you walked
it's like
that
another
whole,
state. Yes. It's like another state.
But
that's part of my whole deal. That's why I believe that all governments should be local. If these people answered to us and they lived in Fort Lauderdale, this whole issue would be taken care of tomorrow. But because they're so far away from the people that want this, they can do whatever they want. That's why they're doing it. That's why they think they can get away with it.
They'll be in
That's
September.
why they're high-fiving each other.
They'll be September, October. They're starting their session way early because it is 2018. And if people really want to have their voices heard, the votes, it's not even a year away.
Right. They have to start campaigning soon.
It's a little over a year away, so they're going to have to start campaigning very soon.
Right.
Again, we just got to make sure that we're there to speak our minds and have other people speak our minds and educate them. And that was one of the biggest things that I had this week too.
Absolutely. Speaking of education, this is April, which is 420 month, and there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of educational things, a lot of fun things going on this month. April 15th, there's a webinar through the Florida Cannabis Coalition that is going to be done by Minorities for Medical Marijuana, just talking about the industry, and it's called a reality check. So that's going to be really interesting. 420 at the Palm Beach Bar. We're having a session in Palm Beach for attorneys, but others can come, so you can go to the Palm Beach Bar website to learn about that. On the 21st, we have the pre-KIFS education before recreation. That's going to be free to the public, and we'll have Dr. Block on there. I'll be speaking. Arby's going to be there.
Why the pressure?
Huh?
Why the pressure?
Yeah.
It's going to be a
give
great.
Him too much responsibility.
It's going to be a great session. We have.
He's got enough.
Who else is going to be there? Giselle Delgadillo is going to be there. So it's going to be an awesome, free to the public education opportunity. On the 22nd is Kaya Fest. That's going to be an outstanding concert series at Bayfront Park, very focused around freedom and focused around cannabis-related activity and education. And then that same night is the Muscular Sclerosis Gala. I want to hand over to Arby to talk about that because he's super involved in the planning of that.
Yeah, we have and I appreciate thank you, Cheryl, for that. We're having the MS Gala, which is Stuart Schlossman, and we're putting it together. He's doing a good job on that. It's a big event for us. It's a big actual month for us. There's a lot of things going on, as you said, on the educational side, and just every day this month there's something definitely going on because this push is pushing forward heavy, I think there's 37 states right now, if I'm not mistaken, that have some sort of use or bill that's in legislation for it to go forward. So the MS Gala is something that came abroad, and I think we've talked about this before. My mother-in-law has MS, and she's been using our products now for almost a year, and it's doing really well for her, and as Dr. Rosado has seen a bunch of patients pass away, we've seen clients take our products, good, bad, or indifferent, just see where their head's at. And it really, you see where their family's at, whether it's a child or an adult. It really does affect you when you see them. As we did EJ's story about 2 weeks ago, and it was pretty compelling to have a child for 6-7 hours running around in the park that used to have 8 to 10 seizures a day, and now 6-7 hours.
And wear a helmet.
These guys were there with us the whole time. There's 7-8 people there. They're throwing footballs, kicking balls, just running around everywhere.
Right.
And she's like, I couldn't do this before. She's like, this is the first time you've seen them go to the park. She goes, I couldn't do that last year.
Yeah.
And take them to the park last year because I was petrified.
Yeah.
Of him being on a swing or something like that and going through. So it is very emotional.
Yeah.
And again, that's why I think it's really sad for people having to get sick or seeing this as an option.
That's the problem.
That's a big problem, and it affects people in a bunch of different ways. Family members, friends, everybody, young, old, doesn't really matter. This is a product that should be shared with everybody, and everybody should be on the same page with it.
Right.
So I think the MS Gala, again, going back to that, it's going to be big for us. It's a big event.
I'm excited.
And we're looking to really represent our brand and the business and educate the people on what we're trying to do. Really.
Yeah, we got a special guest coming up.
Again with
Dr.
the finger,
Rosado.
man.
Yes. Dr. Rosado is coming up next. This is Cannabis
with
Life Radio, brought to you by Green Roads World.
Gratitude is fuel for the actions I partake in. So in doing what I love, I get to keep it up. Perceptions leave much room to be mistaken. So in doing what I say, my word is covenant. I expect nothing but the best from myself, not myself nor me. Putting personality under subordination of the master key, which is the most high in I and I. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Whatever you're dwelling on is the reality that you're creating. Use your concentration wisely, because your only limitation is your imagination. Priority one is to focus on the most high in the meditation. Develop the routine, keep the room clean, balance the physical and spiritual accommodation. Sip daily from the written word, learn from the example, then put it into practical use within your temple. The real work is to know, the truth is the seed, the real life is to grow into what you need. So as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Whatever you're dwelling on is the reality that you're creating. Use your concentration wisely, because your only limitation is your imagination. Trapped inside the flesh, requiring emancipation from the source of the vexation, which is the enemy. Anyhow, you let the mind control, corrupt your state of meditation. You compromise your soul, focus of the goal, and move further from the free. Where you want to be, shaping your destiny, guided by the most high, no need for competition. When creative cultivation of the nation is the mission. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Whatever you're dwelling on is the reality that you're creating. Use your concentration wisely, because your only limitation is your imagination. Because your only limitation is your imagination. Because your only limitation is your imagination. From the source of the vexation, which is the enemy. Anyhow, you let the mind control, corrupt your state of meditation. You compromise your soul, lose focus of the goal, and move further from the free. Where you want to be, shaping your destiny, guided by the most high, no need for competition. When creative cultivation of the nation is the mission. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Whatever you're dwelling on is the reality that you're creating. Use your concentration wisely, because your only limitation is your imagination. In his heart, so is he. Whatever you're dwelling on is the reality that you're creating. Use your concentration wisely, because your only limitation is your imagination.
This is the most unique radio show in America. This is Cannabis Life Radio.
That song was great. I just want to tell you that I'm motivated for the week from that song.
Yeah,
the only
like
limitation is your own imagination. Who needs sleep? I got lots of imagination. You're going to make it happen.
What's going on? Why are you making sound little sign language?
Pointing at you now.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, mine out.
Lasso fingers.
Yes.
My stuff's not working.
Awesome.
You're listening to Cannabis Life Radio, by the way. I can't hear anything.
So we'll see if we have Dr. Rosado is going to be coming on. But Dr. Rosado.
Hello.
Yes, Cheryl.
Oh,
Good morning.
it was one of my faves. You know, I love talking to you anytime. Thank you for joining us on the show. As we were saying this morning, it's long overdue. I'm glad you can make time in your schedule, your busy schedule of receiving humanitarian awards in Orlando and seeing your patients and changing lives. Welcome.
Thank you for coming on, Doc.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you. Good morning, RB.
Good morning. Good morning. How's everything going?
Everything's going outstanding. In my personal and professional life, however, lots of frustrations with all of these new bills that are being written and wanting to be implemented. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I should have gone to law school instead of medical school.
No,
we need you there.
We need you on the doctor's side, but that's what you have us for. Don't worry about it. We're trying to inform and continue to educate. So leave that to us. Continue to do what you're doing because you're doing amazing things, and I appreciate even calling in today and sharing some of your stories or seeing from a doctor's point of view. What are your challenges? What are the biggest problems that you're having in this industry and bill, besides having all the bill issues and what's going on in Tallahassee? How's the patients receiving this? How's the Board of Medicine receiving this? And are the patients getting the medicine that they need?
Well, I'd like to start with, a basic statement, and that is that there's a general consensus out there that we as physicians don't know what we're doing or don't know how to recommend or, manage the patients. And, although, there are 5,000 physicians and right now there's 600 that have received the certification, I would agree that a good percentage of those doctors that did get the certification to recommend medical cannabis in the state of Florida do not know what they're doing. They have chosen to do this kind of like a get-rich-quick scheme, and they've completely missed the boat and the understanding that this is medicine, just like any other medicine.
Right.
And we need to be cognizant and understanding that all of these patients have multiple comorbidities. They have, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, together with their cancers and seizures and PTSD. And so it's important that doctors, understand that this is medicine and we need to address this just like any other medicine. There are going to be side effects. There are going to be issues with combining these medications and how they're metabolized. And they can become toxic. And very few of us have gone that extra step. Dr. Wiener is a phenomenal example of this as a pain management doctor. Yeah. Dr. Moise in Miami well, a family physician. And so these are the colleagues that I associate with, that we bounce ideas off of. Before all of this started, I was involved. In spring of 2013, I sent an email to John Morgan asking him, how do I get involved? I've always believed in this. I've always supported this. How can I get involved? And the day after I sent him an email, the manager for the election for the Amendment 2 passing in 2014, called me up, Ben Palara, and he spent the first 15 minutes of our conversation trying to talk me out of it, which shocked me, but then I understood his point and his position. A lot of doctors wanted to get in, but their heart wasn't in it. It was their pocketbooks and their wallets that were in it.
That's the whole industry too, Doc. I mean, don't take it. That's literally the whole industry. Coming from that side of the industry, that's the biggest problem. One of the problems in this industry is that everybody thinks it's a quick, rich. You get rich quick on this. It actually bleeds you to death. Mm-hmm. And getting involved so quickly is important. Why did you look at it that way? Why don't you why did you see it as a medicine? Is there anything that affected you for you to kind of look at it in that fashion, or is it something that you already knew or saw yourself and did some reading on it?
I learned of this. I mean, I've always been an advocate, even though it was never my quote-unquote drug of choice, because, we've all experimented to some extent, with the exception of my wife, who's never tried anything, and she's maybe, 0.001%. But, in my years of experimenting, it wasn't my drug of choice. I didn't like how it made me feel. So it wasn't because I wanted to, have it legalized so that I could use it. Right. But I did understand that there was a benefit to it. And back when I was in medical school, and was taking pharmacology and was learning about all the different medications, Goodman and Gilman, which is the pharmacological Bible, in there it reads and states that it was, marijuana was not addictive. And I thought, well, wait a minute. For all these years, since my infancy, I'd always learned and heard, it's a gateway drug and all this other stuff. And that's when I started looking at it with, different glasses and looking at it from a different point of view. And I'm talking about, in the late 90s when I was in med school that I was learning all of this. I'm going, okay, there's something to this. So from the late 90s, early 2000s, I was already looking into this as an adjunct and another tool in my toolbox to treat patients. And then in 2005, when it was decriminalized in Arizona, one of my very good friends reached out to me because he had some property and was wanting to grow and needed a physician because the way the law reads there is that every dispensary has to have a medical director. And so I got involved in learning more and understanding more. That project never came to fruition. So, fast forward to 2013 when the conversation began in Florida, it was a no-brainer for me to, pursue my heart's desire to get involved. And then fast forward now to 2017, I am seeing patients, I see anywhere between 10 and 15 patients a day for medical cannabis only.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I have a busy practice. I see between 25 and 30 people a day. So right now, approximately half of my practice is dedicated to medical cannabis. And, patients are calling. They find me on the Compassionate Care Act registry. They find me online with all the interviews that I've done, be it at the Department of Health town hall meetings, or on TV, or recommending it for terminally ill patients that have made the news. So I've gotten very involved, and so patients are finding me, and they're constantly calling and wanting to get in. They get in, but then I have to tell them, well, thanks for coming in. I appreciate you.
Wait 3 months.
Right. We got to wait 3 months before I can write you a recommendation.
That is so, that's taking, what you guys went to school for to become doctors and understanding. And again, I quoted earlier saying that there's a lot of doctors in this state. Most of the doctors that we do speak to are trying to educate themselves, but there's a lot of people that are looking at the money only. And then there's people that have their hearts in it because they realize that this is actual medicine that's helping people. So how at the end, how are they receiving this product after the 90-day visit, after they've gone through the process, and getting that medicine? Are they satisfied with it? Are they realizing that it's too expensive for them? How's that working for them?
That's my next headache. Yeah, we wait 90 days, we get them registered, and then there's a ton of time that's involved because not only am I looking at it from a physician's point of view and looking at the time to discuss and explain to them how this is going to affect their other medications, and we have the conversation about weaning them off of some of their medications to eventually get them off of them completely. But then they reach out to the dispensaries and they hear the following conversation. Oh, we don't have that product. Oh, that's on back order.
Nice.
It's this cost. And I'm seeing parents with children terminally ill. In fact, I started one yesterday that's 19 months old, has an extremely rare cancer in her brain. They've operated on her here at the Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children. They've removed 95% of the tumor. The remaining 5% is in a very intricate location where they cannot access it. They are, she's starting her second round of chemotherapy on Tuesday. I'm talking 19 months old.
That's absolutely absurd.
Crazy.
We talked about that case, yeah.
And when we're having the conversation, when they reached out to the to the dispensary so they can start preparing for the the next 90 days, getting their income and their finances in order to be able to purchase this, they're looking at $1,200 to $2,000 worth of medication out of pocket.
There's the black market.
And
right
that shouldn't be.
It's ridiculous.
And that's when I freaked out. I'm like, holy crap. And then a couple of weeks ago when we were all at the Florida Cannabis Coalition meeting, we met a parent there that had been, stalking me online, and he finally got a chance to reach out to me, and he said, I paid $2,800 just for CBD, not even the CBD THC combination,
Right.
just for CBD, $2,800.
Yeah.
And I just, and I looked at him. He approached me first, and then he approached Cheryl. Then he came and found me. And then when I took him over to Arby, I saw Arby's eyes water up. This is a bodybuilder. This is a professional athlete. Man's man, on the verge of tears because a parent is having to dish out $2,800. Who the hell has $2,800 in their budget?
No.
And he's been doing it for some time, and for him, it's all about his daughter. He had come to the Green Roads table at the Florida Cannabis Coalition. We spent some time talking, and just to hear his story and what he's going through with his daughter, there's no reason in 2017 in the United States of America that he's struggling so much to get his child the care that she needs, the medicine that she needs.
And that's the reason why we do what we do. And we would like to even, put what we do more forefront, but we have a problem, obviously, because we can't make claims. We'd rather people go to their doctors, especially
Absolutely.
We've been blessed to work with a lot of doctors to be able to do this, but that's like a crime to me. Because it's unfathomable that a parent either that or has to restore their life, pick up, close their house, move to Colorado, and make their life a lot easier to actually get this type of medication for their child. It's not for them to get banged up. It's literally for them for their kid, and they can't afford $2,800.
Yeah,
they can't afford $1,000 a month. People are struggling right now to pay their bills. They can't afford that, but they're gonna do it because it's their child, and they'll do whatever they need to do for their child.
Right.
So it's criminal in my eyes to have this problem, and many states are going through this, and this is why we've reached out heavily with Green Roads, and that's why we've grown so drastically. Besides having an amazing group of people that we're surrounded by and an amazing product made by an amazing person, we've reached out, but there's no reason why we could not tell them, listen, go see this doctor, go get your medication there,
right.
and make it feasible for these people to actually be able to treat their family members.
Affordable. And there.
Every day.
And in stock.
And that's
that's a different animal. That's going to be a problem for many, many months.
Yes.
Hopefully, not many years, but it's going to be a problem for a while.
Yeah,
I can tell you that.
And that's what ticks me off about people, politicians, judges, anyone saying, "Oh, ha ha ha, everybody's going to have glaucoma," because these stories are real. These people are real,
but they're not educated, Cheryl.
Yeah.
That's the biggest. They haven't taken the time to go and see somebody or go see a family that's had this problem, or go to a state and go visit a bunch of different families that have had this problem and see how it's working. No, it's like, oh no, people are just going to show up at a doctor and want this. I'd rather have that than opiates.
Right.
Yes.
I'd rather have that than
and for a child, it's even more important.
It's even worse. And we know with EJ, he had that. He had a tumor. And they were going to give him radiation and chemo last year. That's what actually the Dr. Lynn Meiser from Joe D sent us EJ for that reason, and the family hasn't had to have radiation or chemo.
That's crazy.
He's gained about 10 pounds, 12 pounds. The kid spent 6-7 hours at the park with nothing happening to him, and that should be access to everyone.
Absolutely.
With no problem. That should be access to everyone and not have an issue and not have a private company that's going, that's just built to do that. They should have doctors that have that. If the nurseries want to be involved and be monopolized and take over the whole industry, fine. Produce the product at a well price so people could actually get a hold of it.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest problems that we're having right now.
Dr. Rosado, when we
and
first
then adding to that,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, and then adding to that challenge, the quality control and my patients are getting the product. Those that can afford to get it, and then when they receive it, it doesn't work. It's malfunction. Either the syringes don't tighten right, or they get four different bottles, and then each bottle has a different color hue, of amber, and they're like, it's obvious that this is not the same product in all of the 4 syringes.
And they think they get in the business for the dollars, and they think that it's easy. Growing marijuana is a very sophisticated process that takes years to perfect. Extracting and processing even more, and it's going to be highly regulated eventually when the federal government wakes up. But you can't just say, oh, we're going to grow marijuana for sick people. If you're going to experiment for people who are not ill, that's one thing. When you're trying to say, I want to treat sick people, you have to understand the process, and you have to have independent testing, which we don't have in place right now, which we're fighting for. Along with this legislation, they need to create a license for independent testing, or else they're lying to the public when they include in the legislation that these people have to contract with third-party testers. Dr. Rosado, when we first met, you mentioned, I think it was a 15-year-old who you had been working with, who's one of the first to get medical marijuana in the state. Do you want to share a little bit of that story?
Yeah, oh man. See, why you want to make me cry?
That's what Cheryl does.
Make me cry. We'll cry
that's
together.
What Cheryl does.
Yeah.
Why are you gonna go make me cry? See,
I know you love your patients.
I can't get away from a microphone in front of me and tears not coming down my face, especially this kid. You have to go there.
Yes, I insist.
Okay, well, this child, this beautiful soul, Juju, as we call him lovingly, his stepmom was my medical assistant, so I knew of his case for about a year. But the baby mama drama that existed really, I think, affected the whole ability for this child to get it initially. My medical assistant reached out to her husband's ex-wife about, the fact that I was one of the doctors that was, promoting it and moving it forward and everything else. And even though at the time it was still not decriminalized in the state, the conversation was, I was having the conversation already with my patients and kind of, paving the road for what was going to be happening in the future. And so I kept talking to her about, her stepson and the potential for him. And they went ahead and finally reached out and went, across state lines and got some product and saw some changes. But again, it wasn't, what the child needed. And so finally, when it was decriminalized, the mom saw me on TV because I had made the recommendation for another patient that had a non-operable brain tumor, and she was the first one in Central Florida to receive but all she was receiving was the high CBD, nothing else, because at that time, the Right to Try Act had not been implemented. So when the Right to Try Act was available, then I was able then to see
which allows the full medical marijuana, not just the 0.8% THC. Yeah.
Exactly. So he comes into the office, and the same conversation I have with all the patients now. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. I did his whole story, and this child had one of those rare cancers, head and neck, that had eaten away at his skull, the bones of his face on the right side of his face. So his skull, his cheekbone, his jaw had all been eaten up by this cancer and had penetrated his right eye, so he was blind out of his right eye. He had type 1 diabetes, so he was a diabetic on top of being, having this cancer. And so, first day I told him, look, I can't give you anything today. It's going to be a rough road to hoe for the next 90 days. Well, fast forward, 90 days came, every TV station in Central Florida, English speaking, because that was another bone of contention I had with the Hispanic market. They didn't market or promote this child's condition or anything. But all the TV stations were at his house. He receives the product. He starts on the product, and we were able to give him the 1-to-1 combination CBD THC. This child was on a morphine pump, had received chemotherapy, but by the time I got to him, he was already on hospice care because he was so far gone. He had been to St. Jude's multiple times, and on the third visit to St. Jude's, they told him, look, we have nothing else to offer this boy. Go ahead and start making plans for end of life. So this is one of the foremost hospitals for cancer for children, and they're telling the parents, look, we have nothing else for you. Go ahead and, start having the conversation with hospice. So when we finally get him on board, He's on hospice care. He's got the morphine pump. He's getting, at the time, he was getting 16 milligrams of morphine every hour.
That is heavy. What?
Yeah, 16 milligrams of pure morphine being pumped into his system every hour, and then he had the pump where he could hit it at demand if he was in so much pain, which gave him 20 milligrams of morphine. This is the type of pain this boy was in. So I come into the picture. We start him on the 1-to-1, and every week we started reducing the amount of morphine that he was receiving. And his mom called me one evening, like at 8:30. She sent me a text message. Can we talk? And I'm like, okay. So when you get a parent sending you a text message at 8:30 in the evening, and which is something that I do, which many doctors don't do, I give my personal cell phone number to a few of my patients that I'm working with, so that they have access to me 24/7. So the mom texts me. I call her up and I'm like, what happened? And she's like, I heard, I was walking by Juju's room and I heard him giggling. And I'm like, okay. And she said, well, I hadn't heard him giggle in like months. I'm like, okay, what's the problem? So, well, I walked in there and he's sitting on his bed just laughing. And his mom's like, baby, what's wrong? What are you doing? He's like, I don't know. She's like, why are you laughing? He's like, I don't know. And she's like, could that be the THC? And I'm like, oh, my God, the kid's high. I'm like, no, Mom, he's finally relatively pain-free and not having any of these, disabling symptoms where he's just laying in bed like a zombie because of all the morphine that they were pumping into him. Mm-hmm. And so we got him down. I got a lot of resistance from the hospice MD, the hospice nurse, and the nurse was the biggest, thorn in my side. Kept every time questioning the mother, do you feel comfortable dropping his dose like this? Do you feel okay? Are you sure you want to do this? And the mom's like, this is our goal. I want to get him off of the morphine. I don't want him on that poison.
Yeah. Right.
So, long story short, we finally get him down. Everything's good, but the cancer is cancer, and it was so far advanced that it metastasized or moved into his lungs. And once it got into his lungs, his battle was virtually impossible. Mm-hmm. And so about 2 weeks after we discovered that it had made it to his lungs and he was having a hard time breathing, and, he was being fed by tubes and, he was connected to every machine possible, he, transitioned on a Sunday morning and moved on. But, the question always remains in my brain, had I been able to give it to him sooner than in those 90 days, would he still be with us?
Right.
It's the shame that we're dealing with right now, that they're playing with people's lives for sure. And it's so important on what you're doing, Doc, and just kind of being part of, sharing those type of stories, because people would understand, at least coming from a doctor, maybe they'll have, they'll hear this better and louder, that this is something that we need to continue to fight for and educate people on, and just continue to move forward. That's crazy. I mean, there's a lot of people that shouldn't be taking this, 90 days later. It should start out right away.
We're going to dedicate this show in memory of Juju. Mm-hmm. Please send us in our marketing team his full name so we can recognize him as we do posts and honor his memory. And we fight in his name, and we appreciate all that you do. All that you do out there with your patients. You're a stand-up person. You're considered a friend, but I admire you, and just keep pushing, and we're going to be fighting right there along with you.
His heart's in the right place, that's for sure.
Yeah,
this is true. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doc, for joining us today.
Thank you all for inviting me. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. And it's not all gloom and doom either, I mean, I've got the other patients that have been able to wait the 90 days, and after 45 days of being on the medication, they're having life-changing experiences. Mm-hmm. And they are, functioning again. They're able, to do simple things like open a door, because the nerve pain that they were experiencing because of the chemotherapy that they had received, all of that pain is dwindling. They're cutting back on their, opiates by, 80, 90%. They're able to, wash dishes, or eat popcorn because they could never hold the popcorn because their hands were so paralyzed from their pain and the nerve pain. And, so I am seeing lives being changed dramatically. I just wish it were sooner and not later.
Yeah.
It's just great to have you as a partner and keeping us educated and making sure that you're leading the medical community and doing the right thing. When we look back historically and look at how long it took for patients to get access, we're going to be ashamed and embarrassed of ourselves as a country.
People should be definitely ashamed and embarrassed right now, for sure. Thanks, Doc. I appreciate
Thank you
for you
very much,
coming
Doc.
on and for joining us today. Keep spreading that education and your knowledge to everybody, and we appreciate you and everything that you're doing for the community and for your patients. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate what you guys are doing for the movement, for lack of a better term. Have an amazing Sunday.
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Have a
Thank
good
you,
one.
Doctor.
The movement is televised.
Yes. You are currently
TSC
tuned.
marketing.
You are currently tuned to Cannabis Life Radio, brought to you by Green Roads World.
Bam!
Oh, what a lala, songs and pressure. Oh, my Lord, my Lord, my Lord. I can't believe it. Woke up out the blue, said that she's leaving. And I don't think she's too concerned by my feelings. Girl keeps playing dangerous games with my heart. She must be scheming. Always checking the phone, hides when she's speaking. She ain't giving it up too much, always sleeping. Can't keep playing dangerous games with my heart. Now we've seen better days, far more better nights. Used to whip out roses, blow out candlelights. Only memories of finer days. Now all I'm getting is your trifling ways. Oh no, oh no. Oh, you can't tell me nothing. The facts remain the same. Since I ain't getting your loving, who's sparking your flame? I can't believe it. Woke up out the blue, said that she's leaving. And I don't think she's too concerned about my feelings. Girl keeps playing dangerous games with my heart. Oh, Lord. I can't believe it. Woke up out the blues, said that she's leaving. I don't think she's too concerned about my feelings. Girl keeps playing dangerous games in my heart, in my heart, in my heart, yeah. She must be scheming, always checking the phone, hides when she's speaking. She ain't giving it up too much, always sleeping. Can't keep playing dangerous games with my heart. Baby, I love you. I do, though you're my weakness. Don't play me for a fool. And I'm giving you a life that's well. So why you put me through living hell? Oh no, oh no. Oh, you can't tell me nothing. The facts remain the same. Since I ain't getting your loving, who should I give the blame? I can't believe it. Woke up out the that she's leaving. And I don't think she's too concerned about my feelings. Girl keeps playing dangerous games in my heart. Oh Lord, can't believe it. I just woke up out the blue. She tells me she's leaving. And I don't think she's too concerned about my feelings. Girl keeps playing dangerous games in my heart, my heart, my heart, my heart. She must be.
If you need cannabis as medicine, you need Cannabis Life Radio.
fooled you.
Hello there.
You notice that I'm the only one in the studio.
We're speaking of fighting, that was a great segment with Dr. Rosado. Sometimes you need to hear the why as to what you do. That clearly is the why.
Once you see a miracle, one miracle, that's all you need. It changes people's minds forever. And it'll, then they turn to your side. And then, you've turned another person, and then it becomes more and more and more.
It shouldn't be that way, though.
It should not.
People should not have to get sick to try this.
Well, yeah. It should be legal for everybody. Yeah, we got somebody else on the phone. Who do we got?
Yeah, Amanda, are you on?
This is Amber Vaughn.
Amber.
Sorry, I spelled your name wrong.
Yeah.
I apologize. For everybody,
Amber.
I spelled your name wrong.
Yes, everyone.
So, Amber, it was early.
All my cue cards.
Excuse.
All my cue cards say Amanda.
All the cue cards say Amanda. So, Amber,
Amber.
thank you so
Appreciate
much for being on. We're going to give you a couple of minutes to kind of talk about a huge movement that you've been talking about and working on for months and months and months. I saw it on Facebook and said, can I be a part of it? And you guys were like, absolutely, come to our meeting. Join us. I saw you at the Obama-Roosevelt dinner that was hosted by the Broward Democrats. So talk about what you have planned for April 12th.
Well, April 12th, we have the Rally on Tally. But before I say we or anything like that, we are the Broward Young Black Progressives, and we're an organization that is committed to educating, empowering, and engaging our members and also the Broward County community and becoming more politically involved, becoming more politically aware in response to educating our community. We think that it's so imperative that we don't go into these elections voting blindly and voting for familiar faces. So we feel like it's our duty to help educate our community and our members. And we like to engage the community, engage with our members. And in doing so, we believe it's so imperative that we bring younger people into the fold. So we're working on high school initiatives so we can bring them in and work more closely with the high school who will turn into voters. And studies have shown if you engage a potential voter at an earlier age, they're more inclined to be lifelong voters. So that's what we're doing, and that's a little bit about my organization. But we're doing a Rally on Tally. It's a millennial-led initiative, and we'll be spending the day in Tallahassee. We'll be marching from the convention center, and then we'll be rallying at the state capitol. And we have some really awesome speakers. Your very own General Counsel Cheryl Murray Powell.
Nice.
Wow.
Let's give that girl a round of applause.
She is joining us as one of our speakers, but in addition to that, we have Mayor Gillum. He's going to be doing our welcome. Stephen Battelle, who is the chair of the Democratic Party, he'll be speaking, as well as State Representative Bobby DuBose, Michelangelo Bell, who'll be running for Broward County School Board, District 7, as well as members from Equality Florida, Planned Parenthood, as well as Emerge Florida. So we're really trying to bring different organizations and elected officials into the mix, just because it's going to take more than Broward Young Black Progressives to make a difference in our community. It's going to take a lot of organizations and a lot of people at the table willing and committed to make a change. So that's a little bit about our rally. We have an after-rally mixer that we'll be doing, just because we know that access to our elected officials is so important, and that's something that we've not had within this recent change of political climate. So we'll be having a mixer, and we've invited all of our speakers and our elected officials out. So we're looking forward to a really awesome time. We're excited.
I hear that.
It is
so
exciting. No, and what I love about your organization is you're called the Young Black Progressive, so I'm co-signing with that all day long, especially the young part. But
pick one or the other, right, Cheryl?
But you embrace diversity, and you have so many supporters across all types of cultural backgrounds and age groups and everything. So keep up the good work. I know you have buses leaving from different cities. Can you tell us where the launch points are for the buses going to Tallahassee?
Well, we have condensed the rally, and we do have buses leaving from the Cypress Creek Station in Fort Lauderdale. So that'll be the Tri-Rail Cypress Creek Station. The bus will be leaving at 7 p.m. Although registration is closed for right now, we're willing, if you want to take a caravan up there and meet us up there, the more the merrier. We have people in Tallahassee that are already in place, and they've been organizing. We've been working a lot with Tallahassee and FAMU particularly. Josh will be speaking April 4th at the Benjamin L. Perry building at 7 p.m. So we are ready. We are leaving at 7 p.m. If you can't get on the bus, definitely
take a flight.
With us.
Wow. I just want to be on that bus because I know it's going to be like good movies from back in the day, some good food. I'm going to have to break out some food.
America.
Oh,
we
see
are
now.
Ready.
I'm there. I'm on the bus with everybody. That is awesome. Thank you so much for all that you do. This is, I've been planning this for months. Like I think I started talking to you guys about it in December. So now that we're in April, super amped. It's a movement. Again, we're gonna talk about medical marijuana. All of our listeners, we encourage you to get in touch with Amanda. Amanda, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
I am Amber, and you can find me on
Amber. You oh my gosh, I'm gonna die on the sword, and
I'm taking it to the end.
I'm taking it into the abyss, like Rick James. Your name is now. I crown you, Amanda.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm just kidding. I knight you, Amanda. So Amber, my bad. I'm gonna give you so many hugs when I see you. But Amber Vaughn, please tell me how I can get in touch with Amber, not Amanda Vaughn, please.
You can get in touch with Amber Vaughn on you can get in touch with me on Facebook, Amber Danielle. You can email me. That's AD as in dog, VAUGHAN 1982@gmail.com. But definitely look for Broward Young Black Progressives on Facebook, and that's just like it is on Facebook. We have a website. Go to Broward-YBP.com to visit our website. Follow us on Instagram, Broward YBP. We need more people at the table, but more importantly, we need more doers. So if you are a doer, definitely get in contact with us. We look forward to working with you and making some moves in Broward.
Okay, excellent. Well, I want to shout out to your president, Joshua Simmons. I was going to call him Jude Simmons just to change things up.
Too.
But
keep it on the level. Keep it going.
Everybody's name is changing.
Joshua. So our Josh Simmons, I want to shout out. He is a mover and a shaker. He's all over the place.
Yes,
and
he
is the one who welcomed my invite to speak and support you guys. So thank you. Have a great Sunday. We appreciate your work.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you, Amber.
Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
All right,
wonderful day.
Thank you so much. You are currently tuned to Cannabis Life Radio, brought to you by Green Roads World.
Across the state and across the country, the Hemp Kings is your online home for hemp oil products. From organic hemp oils to intense concentrates, there is only one name you need to remember: the Hemp Kings. The Hemp Kings. Our hemp cream pain blaster lotions use natural essential oils to deliver hemp's natural pain reliever directly to the site of inflammation for long-lasting relief. Now, our Pain Blaster hemp cream has gone to the extreme. New Pain Blaster Extreme delivers even more relief, even faster. The best hemp products at the best prices, delivered anywhere in the continental U.S. TheHempKings.com. TheHempKings.com.
Florida Home Grow is the state's #1 seller of hemp oil products. Stop by and check out their organic hemp oils, capsules, and pain-killing topical lotions. Enjoy a complimentary cup of fresh organic coffee when checking out our beautiful showroom. Florida Home Grow also carries unique hemp items like jewelry, soaps, clothing, and accessories. Don't forget to try refreshing natural lemonade or a delicious organic ice cream sandwich. Florida Home Grow is conveniently located on Lake Worth Road between Jog and the Turnpike. We're Florida's #1 seller of hemp oil products because our stuff works.
Marley's Tobacco Shop, your one stop for pipes, papers, and other smoking accessories, including a huge selection of all your favorite raw papers and cones. Marley's offers a wide array of hand-blown glass pipes and water pipes, many from local artists. Check out their selection of vaporizers and e-cigarettes and e-liquids, along with plenty of incense to light up your place. Visit Marley's locations, 2 in Boca, or head to Palm Beach and Jupiter. Marley's Tobacco, a family-owned tobacco shop with a minor in vaping. Marley's Tobacco, they're smoking.
If you need cannabis as medicine, you need Cannabis Life Radio.
Oh, by the way, we're doing a radio show here, guys. Just letting you know. Wanted to let you know. Yeah, we're on the air, by the way. Just letting you know.
We're on the air right now?
Yeah, we're on the air right now. You might want to put on your headphones.
So we're looking forward to having we're having our West Coast guest besides Alexia.
What is going on?
So this is our West Coast themed day. We have
Alexia.
Sabo Shan. Sabo Shan, and I found him on Facebook. He is an entrepreneur. He brings us. I think he's been known. They've called him the Silicon Valley of the cannabis industry, something to that effect. In my research. So, Sabo, are you on?
I am on. Good morning.
Good morning. We're super amped to have you on. You want to talk a little bit about your multiple business ventures and how you got into the cannabis space?
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you very much for having me on. I actually was a cannabis user, or I discovered cannabis in college while still trying to be a college athlete, and essentially I noticed that there were many benefits from cannabis, but I just wasn't comfortable smoking the sacred plant. I just, as an athlete, I wanted to have every advantage I could have possible, and I wanted the therapeutic utility of cannabis, but just not any of the tar and carcinogens that came with combustion. So fast forward like 15 years of me working in the Silicon Valley, I had worked for 5 different companies. All 5 companies had successful exits, either IPOing or getting acquired by much larger companies, and I just, really didn't have any, how can you call it? True satisfaction with my work. I knew monetarily that it was paying the bills. It helped us, raise a family comfortably out here in the Bay Area. But ultimately, selling software was just not something that, really fulfilled me. And I had been collecting vaporizers since 1997. And in 2010, I had decided to, just try and create my own vaporizer. And it took me 3 years before we had a prototype. And my first company is Vape Exhale, which is our flagship company that produces the Vape Exhale Evo, which is a 2-time Cannabis Cup winning vaporizer.
Nice.
And thank you. And through that experience and creating the vaporizer, many professional athletes began utilizing our device as well for recovery from, really high-impact sports or traumatic head injuries. And I started, speaking and getting to know a lot of these athletes, and started noticing that many of them were also consuming cannabis, sometimes before training, sometimes even before competition. And we decided to create a second company called Canna Athlete. And Canna Athlete is a edibles company where we make medically infused products that are congruent with the dietary restrictions of an athlete. So most of our products only have 1 or 2 ingredients, typically things that would be like supplements for an athlete, like MCT oil or amino acids, things like that, and really try to change the public perception of how people, not just view cannabis users, but, really try to help them understand safer, healthier delivery methodology, so that if they want to, add cannabinoids into their diet, whether for recovery purposes or for preventionary purposes, and they don't smoke cigarettes, they'll know that there's other options out there for them.
Excellent. As a non-athlete myself, who doesn't work out at all, how does it taste?
Can you ask that question again?
How does it taste? How does the Canna Athlete edible taste?
Oh, well, a very good question. So, obviously, palatability is something that is very important for anybody that is creating a food product. So, in the case of our edibles, we use basically fractionally distillated oil, and essentially that process pulls out quite a bit of the terpenes and allows us to reintroduce the ones that we want. But with that specific oil base, because it has less flavor, or it almost has zero flavor, our products taste exactly like the ingredients that you put in without that hashy aftertaste.
Beautiful.
So,
Beautiful. That's what we're looking for.
That was a very important thing for me, because it wasn't just the palatability and the taste of the edibles, but also, like for myself, I've been really trying to cut the amount of sugar in my diet. I used to eat, these chocolate bars that contained 180 milligrams of cannabinoids, and, of that 180 milligrams, each chunk came with about 18 grams of sugar. So, we were also really trying to make sure that even if you aren't an athlete, but you are someone that is really trying to keep down, the sugar, the bad things to put in your body, that our edibles would be congruent with your dietary restrictions. So like I said, we currently have 2 products. One is our activation spray, which is a 1 milligram per spray oil that sits in an MCT oil base. So this MCT oil derived from coconut. And then we have a recovery serum, which is made from natural, raw, organic agave, and the other ingredient is just distillated cannabis oil. So our two products only have 2 ingredients each. Typically, like I said, these are ingredients that whether you're on a paleo diet, ketosis diet, high-protein, low-fat diet, these things all fit within, what average athlete would deem, positive for their
and that's important, Shabo, because obviously people that are getting in this business or actually consuming these type of products are really looking for something that's healthy, more holistic brand,
right.
Whether it's on the THC blend or CBD side, where people are looking for something better than what they're taking, or whether it's a pill or a vitamin or something like that. And the cannabinoids have definitely shown that it's helping a lot of people that don't want to consume or combust the cannabis plant itself. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us. And Cheryl was telling me about it. Where do you see the business going in Cali or around the country in the near future?
I think we've been doing a lot of education. Just yesterday, we did an event called the 420 Games down in Santa Monica, which was a 4.2-mile run on the Santa Monica Pier. It was a way to kind of change the public perception of what a cannabis user looks like and, kind of show like a more active, healthy lifestyle. So at least here in California, it seems like there's a really big desire for new users to become educated. And a lot of what we're really trying to do is to help people understand that, the reason why we use limited ingredients in our infused products is that, the magic is in the cannabinoids. And, there have been a lot of companies and brands out there that have been really touting, adding all sorts of different herbs or all sorts of different vitamins and amino acids to the various edible products to enhance its capabilities. But many times these products, cost 20, 30, 50% more, sometimes even twice as much as, a standard branded product. So for us, we're really trying to educate people so that they could buy quality products, but not just, look for the thing that has the shiniest wrapper and end up paying double for something that has the same cannabinoid content as something else, but it was just, branded more high-end, or they, put some marketing fluff on the package to make you think it was more bioavailable or had some synergistic herbs, because ultimately, like I said, I'm a huge believer in the plant, and I also know that the plant's not cheap. So if we are going to call this medicine, I really like to help, educate people to help them kind of decide
from the East
for
Coast to
themselves.
the West Coast. That's the
theme
that's
for
literally
today.
that's the theme. It's really educate and we say educate to medicate, because if they're not educated, they're definitely not going to medicate. So that's very important. You guys even doing the same thing, and you guys started this whole thing in 1996. That West Coast. So it's important to continue to push that, and the education is huge for everybody. I mean, we've been doing that here on Green Road side on the East Coast since June 2013. And Cheryl and I met just because we met at an educational seminar, and we continue to push the education side. So that is very important, because people typically that get on the cannabinoids or CBD either know what it is and then maybe advance, or if they don't need to advance, they stay on the cannabinoids or CBD only products. So that's important, that I'm glad you guys are still out there educating and making sure that it is important for people that run a 420 event or something like that. They don't have the stigma of the way a cannabis user looks, because they don't all look the same, and everybody, it doesn't have race, religion, or anything on it, or color. Everybody across the spectrum uses that plant.
Yep. Great stuff.
You know what that
Thank
music
you.
means.
Yeah.
It's time to go.
Yeah, but Sabo, thank you.
so
I know we've been
much,
trying
Sabo.
to catch up. So thank you for being on.
Are you gone, Sabo? No, he's here.
Oh, he's here?
Yeah.
I looked at the panel.
So let's continue to talk and learn more about your product, and thanks for being on, especially
Thank
so
you, Shabo.
early. All
Thank
right?
you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Another fine show, my friends. Another fine
do
show.
it.
We have broken new ground
New
again.
ground.
Every week.
Well, we Green Roads broke, and I want to shout out real quick to Green Roads, to all my guys and girls and everybody that's made this a possibility. It's incredible what you guys did this month. and let's keep on doing it and keep on pushing forward.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, we're all going to be together again next week.
Yeah, we're going to have Cannabis Lab LA. Cannabis Lab LA will be on next week. So giving a California update.
Why are you throwing me gang signals?
Yeah, we got to leave.
We got to go?
They're kicking us out of here.
Well, what's new?
No, I was just letting you know 30 seconds.
Oh, 30 seconds? Okay. Well,
Get
I just
out.
want to tell you that this has been Cannabis Life Radio,
Yes.
which has been brought to you by Green Roads
Roads
World. We will see you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Peace.
WSWN Belgrade, the new 900 AM, the talk of the Palm Beaches, and online at 900thetalk.com.